In this video, I wanted to see if I could beat Kanto in a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokémon Storm Silver. So during my last adventure into Storm Silver, I managed to defeat Lance and the Johto League, and now it's time to carry on that journey into Kanto. If you want a recap of my hardcore Nuzlocke rules, they're on the screen now and in the description. You may be thinking that with all the Pokémon I caught on my first journey into Storm Silver, even the revamped Kanto League I'm about to face won't prove to be that much of a challenge. That's why I've decided for this league of our journey, I'm only allowed to use Pokemon I caught in Kanto. So with the setup out the way, let's jump in and see if we can finish Pokemon Storm Silver. Oh, and remember to like this video if you enjoyed and subscribe for more in the future. It really helps me out. So let's get this show on the road. Right after getting off the boat, I've got to start rebuilding my team, and due to some changes Storm Silver makes compared to the base game of Soul Silver, a lot of the routes are actually blocked off, meaning I've got a lot less encounters than I'd normally get. Storm Silver is also insistent I battle the gym leaders in Kanto order, meaning I've got to face Brock first and not Surge. Let's start getting our encounters then. Firstly, on Route 6, we find ourselves a Weeping Bell I named Bell. I find the Bellsprout line a bit awkward to use. They have a good attack stat but bad defenses and low speed, meaning that making use of that decent attack stat is often difficult. Oh well, I'm not in the position to be picky. I'm blocked off from heading further north for now, so instead I make my way through Diglett Cave, where shockingly I find a Dug Trio. How's that for a plot twist? Like Bellsprouts, I don't usually rate Digletts that highly, but Liam turns out to be one of the most important encounters I've ever got. Outside Diglett Cave, I find another middling encounter. This time I find a Dustox I name Noah. Dustox is often good early game and then pretty useless late game, so to say I'm not exactly thrilled would be an understatement. Moving on from Pewter City then, onto Route 3, we find another encounter, this time a Theero I name Tom. With Tom acquired, I've actually only got one more encounter to get. In the Pewter City Museum, I can revive one of the fossils I picked up in Johto, and I decide on Bastiodon, as having a super bulky steel type seems like the best idea to cover my very fragile team. So that's it for encounters then, and while Brock may be one of the weaker gym leaders in Johto, to say my 5 Pokemon aren't exactly optimal for this fight would be an understatement. Thankfully I've got Bell with a choice scarf, meaning I should mostly be okay here, I hope. So I start with Bell, who is immediately able to outspeed and KO the first Thor of Brock's Pokemon. Maybe I worried for no reason. 5th is Sudowoodo, who I'm sure will also go down in one hit. Or not. Okay, that was way too close. I really can't be having heart attacks like that so early. Bell survives though and is able to finish off the stupid fake tree with 2 more leaf blades. Last the Brock is Onix, and for the first time ever, I actually have a problem with Onix. Bell can't outspeed here, and I can't risk her taking another hit, but everybody else on my team is either threatened by Stone Edge or Earthquake. Because of this, I decide to do something I don't think anybody has ever done in the history of Nuzlockes. I have to stall out an Onix. I'm not proud of it, but by switching into Tom on Earthquakes and Sid on Stone Edges, I'm able to run the Onix out of PP for Stone Edges and then very slowly KO the Onix with Drill Pecks from Tom. That was just silly. Luckily I had the right tools for taking down Brock, but I could really do with some more Pokemon at this point. Unfortunately, despite winning a gym badge, I don't actually get any more Pokemon before I run into another massive roadblock, my rival. Now, if you saw my first video on Pokemon Storm Silver, you might have noticed I didn't actually include any of the rival battles in that video. That's because generally, by the time the rival becomes difficult, I've got so many good encounters I can plan around whatever he throws at me. Unfortunately, looking at my rival's team right now, I'm basically with the 5 Pokemon I have, or I should say I would be if it wasn't for Liam. Thanks to Liam's speed, a choice band, and Liam's ability to learn Earthquake, Rock Slide, and Sucker Punch, I might just be able to push through this, but it's going to be a close one. So I start with Liam, and my rival starts with Haunchcrow. A single Rock Slide is enough to KO the overgrown. That's an issue. Holy I just got so lucky. Without that flinch, I might have just lost this entire run, but we're still in this as Haunchcrow goes down to a second Rock Slide. Second is Feraligatr, the only Pokemon on my rival's team that Liam can't handle, so I switch into Bell. On the switch, Bell has to take a weak Aqua Tail before KOing with a Leaf Tornado. Third is Alakazam. Now, I would be able to one-shot with Liam here, but there's no way I'd be able to get Liam in without someone else going down. If I had to sacrifice someone here, I would, but instead I think I can see another way out. So I decide to switch into Sid on a resisted psychic. Now usually Sid would still be in danger here from a focus blast, but I've given him a berry that reduces the super effective damage. This means Sid is able to survive a really hard focus blast and then KO with a metal burst. Gotta love it when a plan actually works. Fourth is Electivire, and I don't really want to risk Liam here, so I switch through Noah, who tanks an earthquake. I'm now pretty sure Electivire will go through a thunder punch, so I'm safe to get Liam in for 3. A single earthquake then takes down the Electivire. Fifth is Gengar, and annoyingly I'm locked into earthquake thanks to my choice band. Luckily, Tom is the perfect Pokemon to send in, as he is immune to Gengar's Shadow Ball, and then he baits another Thunderbolt, meaning I can get Liam back in for 3. A single Sucker Punch is then enough. Liam, please, you have a choice band, and Gengar isn't exactly tanky. Through Divine Intervention though, Liam manages to take a Focus Blast from Gengar and then KO with a second Sucker Punch. Liam, you can't keep taking risks like that. Please actually start picking up KOs. Gave me another heart attack, and we haven't even got to the second gym. It all worked out though, meaning that all that's left for my rival is Magmortar, and that just means I have to get Liam out and then back in. Now so far I've made it through this battle with no deaths, but unfortunately I think at this point the safest play is to let Noah go down, so with a heavy heart I send my little moth in and then watch as Magmortar sets Noah on fire. Rest in peace my little moth buddy. With Noah down, Liam is able to come in and KO with one last earthquake. Okay, we've defeated the roadblock that was our rival and somehow only made it through that incredibly tough fight with only one death. If I didn't have Liam with Sucker Punch there, I don't know what I would have done. We've made it past our annoying rival though, and that means we get some more encounters, finally. I actually get a decent amount here, and most of them, if I'm honest, aren't very good. I'll be only mentioning the important ones. Firstly, in Mount Moon, we find a Clefable we name Luna. Moving south from Cerulean City, we find a Mightyena we name Willow, who if nothing else has Intimidate, which is always useful. Next, we can head east towards the power plant for 2 more encounters. Firstly, we catch a Primeape we name Meep, and then on Route 10, we catch a Chinchou we name Riley. Riley is actually super important for Misty, because without her, I really wouldn't have much of the counter for her water types. 2 more encounters to go then. This time, we can head north from Cerulean City. On Route 24, we find a Gardevoir we name Becky, and on Route 25, for our last encounter, we catch a Vigoroth we name Athena. With all our encounters caught, we can actually build a team for our upcoming battle with Misty, so after cock blocking her, it's time to challenge her to a battle. Misty starts with Politoed, while I start with Luna. Politoed starts the fight by landing a super strong Hydro Pump that does a lot more than I was expecting. Was hoping Luna would be able to take a few hits here, but apparently not. At the very least, Luna is able to set up a light screen. I then try to get off a Moonlight to heal back some of the damage now that light screen is set up, but Politoed annoyingly goes for an Encore. I guess this is how it feels. With Luna locked in, I had no choice but to send in Riley sooner than I was hoping, who tanks a weak Hydro Pump on the switch. Riley then has to take a Hyper Voice and a second Hydro Pump before KOing with 2 discharges. Second for Misty is Lapras, who goes down to 2 discharges after getting off a weak Ice Beam. Third is Starmie, and this thing scares me. Luckily I have Becky, who can come in on a Psychic and then set up another light screen before being brought low by a Hydro Pump. With light screen up again, I'm now safe to send in Belle, who takes a Hydro Pump on the switch. Now I'm pretty sure Belle can survive 1 Psychic here thanks to light screen, but it's a bit of a risk. Okay, 2 HP is kind of cutting that a bit too close to the comfort, but Belle survived, meaning she's able to get off a Leaf Blade and take down the stupid Starfish. Fourth is Golduck, and Golduck is inferior in every way to its predecessor, so it's a simple case of switching into Becky on a Psychic and then KOing with 2 Thunderbolts after taking a Water Pulse. Fifth for Misty is her own Lantern, so I switch into Athena on a Signal Beam. Athena is then able to lock Lantern into Signal Beam with Encore, which means I'm perfectly safe to switch into Sid. Once Sid is out, I'm able to go for Toxic, which after missing through a turn puts the Lantern on a timer. Eventually the Lantern is brought to about 1/3 of its HP, but unfortunately the Encore has now ended. I have to find a way to stall for a few more turns. Athena took a Signal Beam super well, so I assume she'll be able to also take a Surf. Turns out I was very wrong, but Athena survives, meaning she is able to outspeed on the following turn and KO with a Slash. Last, the Misty is Vaporeon, and my team is looking pretty beat up at this point. I decide my best bet is Luna, who might be able to come in and take a couple hits from this weirdly sexualized Pokemon. Unfortunately though, on the switch, Luna goes down to a Surf. To be honest, I was in a really awkward spot there, and while losing Luna does suck, it does allow me to send in Riley, who KOs after 2 discharges, winning us the match. I was more than likely going to lose someone there at the end once it was just Vaporeon, and all of the Pokemon on my team would have hurt to lose, so I'm just grateful it was only 1 loss. Moving on from Misty then, we actually don't have anything to do before the next gym, meaning it's time for the Surge. Now despite some PTSD, I'm hoping this fight will be pretty straightforward, so let's jump in. Surge starts with Magnezone, and I start with Liam. And from there, Liam is able to immediately pick up 2 KOs, Magnezone goes down in 1 hit, and then Electivire also goes down to another Earthquake. Third is Raichu, the only Pokemon I'm slightly concerned about. I'm pretty sure Raichu might outspeed here, and if it does, Liam is not going to survive the Surf, so I switch into Bell. Bell takes a Surf on the switch like it's nothing, before taking a resisted Thunderbolt. Okay, if everyone could stop nearly killing my Venus Flytrap, that would be appreciated. Belle once again pulls through though, and survives the Thunderbolt, meaning she's able to land a critical hit Leaf Blade that KOs the overgrown rat. I'm starting to really like Belle, sure that won't come back to bite me. Fourth for Surge is Ampharos, so I switch into Liam on a Signal Beam that doesn't do too much. Another Earthquake is then enough to KO the Ampharos. Fifth is Jolteon, and again I'm worried about being outsped here, so I switch into Athena on a Shadow Ball. Perfect. Annoyingly, Jolteon then goes for a Swagger, and I get unlucky because Athena hurts herself in confusion. I then make a pretty big mistake and try to stay in with Athena, completely forgetting about Truant. This means Athena has to take a really hard Thunderbolt for no real reason, and then I'm forced to switch anyway. I decide on Sid, who's in the best position to take another hard Thunderbolt. After 2 Thunderbolts, Sid is able to land a Dig that actually does a lot less than I'm expecting. Guess Sid's attack stat is really that bad. This Jolteon is starting to become an issue, so I decide maybe my best bet now is Riley, so I switch in on a useless Thunderbolt, and then Jolteon misses a Swagger. Perfect, as Riley is then able to take down Jolteon with a couple of Surfs. Last for Surge is Electrode, who goes down to a couple of Surfs after setting up some double teams. Some scary moments in that fight, but overall that was pretty easy. With our 3rd Kanto badge acquired, the rest of this region really opens up to us now, meaning you guessed it, we get more encounters. Firstly, inside a rock tunnel, we catch a Hariyama I named Billy. I've only got 1 other mid-fighting type, so the more the merrier. I then make it to Fuchsia City, where the town seems to have been taken over by Shelders for some reason. Is there something I'm missing here? Why Shelders? Anyway, this slightly confuses me, so I decide to backtrack for some really strong encounters I missed earlier by heading south. Heading back to Route 11, I remember to catch the static Snorlax outside a Diglett cave, and I don't really need to say just how great this thing is, do I? Welcome aboard, Smith. Then heading on to Route 8, I find everybody's favourite fire puppy, Growlithe, who I name Archie. That just leaves 2 more encounters. It turns out by heading back to Route 12, I can find Professor Oak, who is just chilling in this random hut, who will give me the 2 Kanto starters I didn't pick up last time. I decide to keep the Charmander, who I name Cody. Last then, at the Celadon game corner, I can grab a Metang, who I name Mario. With all of these encounters out the way, it's time for our next gym fight against the grass leader, Erica. Now, when you clicked on this video, you might have thought I'd just be able to easily sweep all of these Kanto gyms, and thanks to Storm Silver revamping them and the fact I'm only using newly caught Pokemon, so far this hasn't been the case. However, even under these rules, Erica still sucks as Cody is able to one-shot every single one of their Pokemon. Nice easy gym to take us over to the mid-game. 4 more to go. I've actually already caught most of my available encounters in Kanto at this point, and that means we're ready for the next gym fight against Janine. Let's jump in. Janine starts with Ariados, and I start with Tom. Tom is immediately able to start the fight by outspeeding and KOing with a Drill Peck. Second is Weezing, so I switch into Liam, expecting a Thunderbolt. Annoyingly, Liam instead gets hit by a Will-O-Wisp, pretty much crippling him for the rest of this fight. That's annoying, but not something I can't play around. I decide I don't want anybody else taking one of those Will-O-Wisps, so I switch into Archie on a Flamethrower that, thanks to Flash Fire, boosts Archie's attack. Perfect. Archie then gets sets off a heat wave that does massive damage before taking a semi-strong thunderbolt. A second heat wave then picks up another KO. Third is Quillfish, so I switch into Riley on a weak surf, get healed by a thunder wave, and then KO with a discharge. Easy. Fourth is Drapion, so I switch into Tom on an earthquake. 3 drill pecks are then enough to KO the monster Scorpion after taking 2 strong crunches. Fifth is Toxicroak, who also goes down to a drill peck from Tom. Last is Venomoth, and I'm expecting another one-shot here, but surprisingly, Tom is outsped and KO'd by a Psychic. Overconfidence bit me in the arse there, rest in peace Tom. I am able to send out Archie to finish off the overgrown moth to end this match, but it's a shame to lose Tom after that fight was going so well. Oh well, no time to stop now, because with our 5th gym down, we're immediately onto Sabrina and her psychic types. This fight is often fairly hard, so fingers crossed this goes well. Sabrina starts with Gallade and I start with Willow. Willow is immediately able to start the fight with a fly and KO the Gallade. Good start. Second is Mr. Mime, so I switch into Mario on a Thunderbolt. A single bullet punch then just misses the KO on the creepy looking Mime, meaning Mario has to take a hard focus blast that hurts, but thankfully doesn't KO. Sabrina then heals on the following turn, meaning Mario is able to KO with 2 more bullet punches. Third for Sabrina is Alakazam, and I have a plan for this absolute beast. I send in Liam, who is holding a Focus Sash, meaning he can't be one-shot. Turns out I didn't need that, as Focus Blast somehow doesn't do enough to one-shot anyway, and then a single Sucker Punch KOs the Alakazam. Or it doesn't. But a second Focus Blast misses anyway. Liam, you heart attack inducing. Somehow, he's made it through yet again, meaning a second Sucker Punch is able to get another KO. Fourth for Sabrina is Hypno, so I switch into Smith on a Grass Knot. Smith then has to take a really weak Psychic before KOing with a single critical hit crunch. Easy. Fifth is Medicham, so I send in Becky on a high jump kick. A Bullet Punch then hits Becky hard, but thankfully she survives, meaning a single Psychic is enough to take down Medicham. That just leaves Sabrina's Wobbuffet, and I had brought Athena here with Encore to handle this pest, but I completely forgot about Shadow Tag. Shadow Tag means I can't switch out, and if Becky is going to get through this, I'm going to need a bit of luck. I just need Wobbuffet to not go for Mirror Coat, so I'm able to get off one Psychic as Wobbuffet goes the counter. Unfortunately though, on the next turn, Wobbuffet clicks the button I was hoping it wouldn't, and Becky goes down. Rest in peace Becky, you held your own, and that's what matters. I'm then able to revenge kill the Wobbuffet with no issues. We've won another gym badge, but at the rate I'm running through Pokemon, I am going to start encountering problems. Oh well, I'll deal with that when I need to. Moving on from Sabrina then, I can now slightly refill my ranks with a few more decent Pokemon. Firstly, someone let Professor Birch out of his lab again, which is slightly random, but like Oak before him, he does give me the 2 remaining Johto starters I didn't pick up at the start of the game. I've decided to keep Louis the Feraligatr, as I don't have a lot of water types. Of course, saying this, I do immediately catch another water type, Tess the Pelipper, just south of Pallet Town. Not complaining, Tess should come in really handy. Those are the only 2 encounters I get before Blaine, meaning it's time for our next gym fight. Whoa, stop, wait, did Blaine just flash his shiny head at me? I really don't know how to feel. I think it's best that we just move on. Liam is able to outspeed and KO the first 5 of Blaine's Pokemon with a single Earthquake each. The problem is Arcanine. Because of Intimidate, I'm no longer sure I can one-shot, so I switch into Riley on an Overheat that doesn't do much. Arcanine then lands a Flare Blitz that very nearly KOs my Zappy Fish. Can't seem to get through any of these gym fights without having a heart attack, clearly. Riley survived though, meaning I'm able to send in Liam, who ends the fight with another Earthquake. With Blaine defeated, that just leaves one last gym leader to take down, Kanto's second best, Blue. Blue's team is fairly stacked, but I've got some good Pokemon at this point, so let's see how this goes. Blue starts off with Nidoqueen, and I start off with Tess. Nidoqueen does start by outspeeding and landing a critical hit crunch, but Tess is able to hit back with a Surf that doesn't KO, but does force Blue to heal on the following turn. This means Tess just has to take one more crunch before taking the KO. Second is Tyranitar, so I outspeed and land and a Surf that actually doesn't do as much as I was hoping. Thankfully, Tyranitar just misses a Stone Edge, meaning Tess is able to get off the second Surf that very nearly KOs Tyranitar. Tess then goes down, but that's all part of the plan as Bell is now able to come in and KO with a single Leaf Blade. Third for blue is Gyarados, and annoyingly, I can't just send in Riley here as Gyarados has Earthquake. Because of this, I decide to send in Athena, who after taking a bounce is able to lock Gyarados into Dragon Dance with Encore. It's then a simple case of switching into Riley and then KOing with a Discharge. Fourth the blue is Rhyperior, and thanks to choice specs, I can't one-shot with the Surf here. Luckily, I've got old reliable Bell in the back, who very nearly goes down to an Earthquake. That was kinda scary, but now Bell can outspeed and one-shot on the following turn. Unfortunately though, I don't think she'll survive Sandstorm Chip here, so with a heavy heart I go through a Leaf Storm and then watch as my Venus Flytrap goes down to Sandstorm Chip. Rest in peace Bell, you were the first Pokemon I caught in Kanto and oh my god, he lived on 1 HP. This Flytrap is the chosen one, I swear. Fifth for blue is Exeggutor, who is easily taken down by a single Meteor Mash from Mario. Last the blue is Machamp, who after getting off a Dynamic Punch goes down to a single Zen Headbutt. We've done it, all the gym leaders have been taken down. Now normally that would just leave red as our final challenge, but that would be pretty anticlimactic, so I've decided to go all in and re-battle the Elite Four for a second time, this time with their revamped rematch teams. Before we get to that though, I do have one more encounter to grab. Now that I have all the Kanto gym badges, I now have access to Mount Silver where I can find a Sneasel I name Jay. Then it's time for the Elite Four rematches. Let's see who I'm bringing. I've decided on Jay the Weavile, Mario the Metagross, Smith the Snorlax, Riley the Lantern, Cody the Charizard, and last but by no means least, Bell the Victory Bell. Let's go finish this. First up for our rematches is Will the Psychic type trainer, who I have a decent amount of counters for, so let's hope this goes well. Will starts with Exeggutor and I start with Jay. Jay is immediately able to start the fight with a Crunch that gets the one-shot. Second is Gardevoir, who I can't one-shot thanks to its Fairy typing. I decide my best bet is Mario, so I switch and take a hard Focus Blast. Mario then outspeeds and KOs with a Meteor Mash. Third is Slowbro, so I switch into Riley on a Flamethrower that does next to nothing. Riley then hits back with a Discharge that annoyingly doesn't KO, allowing Slowbro to set up Trick Room. I need to stall out Trick Room here before it can cause me any problems, so I delay through a turn with a Protect. I then go through a Discharge, expecting that I'm going to have to take a strong Psychic here, but thankfully Slowbro just gets paralyzed. This allows Riley to get off another Discharge for the KO. Fourth for Will is Bronzong, so after stalling through another turn with Protect, I switch into Cody on an Earthquake. 2 Flamethrowers are then enough to take another KO. Fifth is Xatu, and I decide to stay in and take a Psychic before getting off a Flamethrower that doesn't do a huge amount thanks to Bronzong's Light Screen. It's then a simple case of switching into Jay on a Psychic, which he's immune to, and then KOing with a Crunch. Last is Jinx, so this match is basically over as another Crunch is enough to KO the Jinx. Or somehow a choice-banded Crunch through a Weavile with a 3-level difference isn't enough to KO a Jinx of all things. Are you kidding? Seriously? Luckily Jinx just misses a Focus Blast, and then another Crunch is enough for a KO. That was stupid. Oh well, we won, 1 down, 4 more to go. Next up is Koga, who starts with the Toxicroak, while I start with Cody. A single Air Slash is enough to take down the Toad. Second is Stunk Tank, who goes down to 2 Air Slashes after Cody takes a Sucker Punch. Third is Muck, so I switch into Mario on a Gunk Shot. Perfect. Mario isn't able to one-shot the Muck, but he gets pretty damn close. This does mean he has to take a really hard payback, but then 2 more Zen Headbutts are enough to take another KO. Fourth is Crobat, so I switch into Riley on a Heat Wave that does next to nothing. On the following turn, I try to get off a Discharge, but unfortunately Crobat switches with a U-turn, meaning Discharge instead goes into Swalot, and it doesn't do a lot. I assume Koga will go through an Earthquake here, so I switch back into Cody. My prediction is correct, meaning I get Cody in for 3, and then a single Flamethrower takes down the Kirby knockoff. Then Crobat comes back out, so I once again switch into Riley. This might have been a mistake if I'm honest, because Riley takes a huge amount from a Brave Bird. I then go through a Protect and see that Crobat is actually going through Cross Poison here and not another Brave Bird, meaning I might survive another hit. It's a huge risk to stay in, but I'm worried no one else on my team can take 2 hits here, so I decide to take the risk and Riley survives. That was way too scary, but Riley surviving means she's able to get off the discharge that annoyingly doesn't KO. Okay, now I'm in an awkward spot because I really don't know what Crobat will go for on the next turn, as it probably sees the KO with any of its moves. I decide on Mario, who has the most resistances to Crobat's moves, and Crobat goes for a U-turn, bringing out the Venomoth. That was probably the best case scenario, as Mario now baits a Bug Buzz, so I can switch into Cody, who takes the hit easily despite the crit, and then KOs with a Blaze boosted Flamethrower. Then all that's left is the Crobat again, and even with half its HP remaining, this thing is a major threat. I decide to switch into Jay, who at the very least is on full HP, so he'll probably survive a hit. Luckily on the switch he does, but thanks to Brave Bird's recoil damage, Koga heals before I can get the KO. So annoying, this thing just won't go down. I decide to switch into Smith, who doesn't have the best defense, but he's on full HP, so I'm hoping he can take a couple of hits here. On the switch, another Brave Bird does a lot, but thankfully it leaves Smith above 50%. Thanks to leftovers and slack off, I'm able to survive long enough for the Crobat to KO itself with Brave Bird recoil. That came down to the wire, but we've done it. Second member of the Elite Four down. Third for this Elite Four is Bruno, who starts with Hitmontop, while I start with Mario. After taking a Fake Out, a single Zen Headbutt is enough to KO the strange spinning top Pokemon. Second is Infernape, and this monkey is a massive threat. I'll be honest, I hadn't really thought through a plan to handle this monkey safely, despite the fact, looking back on it, I had a fair few options. I decide to switch into Riley on an Overheat and then Cody on a Close Combat. With Infernape's defenses lowered, I'm in a much better spot, but I don't feel like Cody can outspeed. Because of this, I switch into Mario on a Stone Edge and then back to Riley on a critical hit Overheat that does massive damage. I now realise I should stop playing around and trying to bait Infernape into going through another Close Combat again, so I switch into Mario on another Stone Edge and then KO with a single Headbutt. Okay, that was really unoptimal, but the monkey is down, so that's what matters. Third is Hitmonlee, so another Zen Headbutt picks up another KO. Fourth is Lucario, so I switch into Smith. This was a massive misplay on my part because I expected Lucario to go through a crunch, but unfortunately, instead, Lucario goes through a Close Combat, meaning my big sleepy panda goes down to a crit. Rest in peace, Smith, you deserve better. In response, I am able to send out Cody, who revenge kills with a Flamethrower. Fifth is Hitmonchan, so I switch back into Mario on a Thunder Punch. A second Zen Headbutt then picks up another KO. Last is Machamp, who actually survives a Zen Headbutt and gets off a Dynamic Punch that gives me another Heart Attack. Thankfully Mario lives though, meaning I can switch to Cody on a Bullet Punch and then KO with an Air Slash. That's Bruno down in what was an incredibly messy fight. Can't start getting complacent so close to the end. Last for this Elite Four then is Karen, and with no fighting types, this battle isn't going to be easy. Karen starts with Weavile, while I start with Mario. Thanks to Focus Sash, I can't one-shot the Weavile here, so I've given Mario a berry to reduce the super effective Dark type hit that Weavile is going to go for. So after a Bullet Punch brings Weavile really low, a Night Slash hits hard but doesn't KO Mario. A second Bullet Punch is then enough for the KO. Second is Houndoom, so I switch into Riley on a Fire Blast. A Surf from Riley then brings the Satan Puppy down to 50%, while Houndoom goes for a Nasty Plot. That's perfect because it means Riley can KO on the following turn with a second Surf with no issues. Third is Shiftry, so I switch into Cody on a Seed Bomb. A single Flamethrower is then enough for a clean one-shot. Fourth is Haunchcrow, so I switch into Jay on a Brave Bird that would have KO'd if not through a Focus Sash. A second Ice Punch is then enough for another KO. Fifth for Karen is Absol, so I switch into Mario on a Stone Edge. Before Mario is able to get off a hit, unfortunately Absol goes to Sucker Punch and it does a huge amount. Mario is a beast though and survives the hit before landing a Meteor Mash that one-shots the Absol. Last for Karen is Umbreon, and while not super threatening, Umbreon is going to be a pain to KO, especially because it knows Bulk Up. Before it can start with any of that shit though, I'm able to send in Bell and and put the bastard to sleep. That puts me in a pretty good position, as now I can probably KO before it wakes up. Just takes a lot of flamethrowers, and I mean a lot of flamethrowers. We do eventually take down the Umbreon though, meaning we've won, and we've taken down the Elite Thor for the second time. That just leaves the champion, Lance. I've got my counters set up for this fight, so let's go finish this. So Lance starts with Gyarados, and I start with Riley. Thanks to a choice Scarf, I can easily outspeed and one-shot. Oh no. So no idea how that didn't KO, but losing Riley here has put me in a really bad position, as I was going to use him to also counter Charizard. This just got slightly more interesting. Thankfully, Riley did bring Gyarados low enough to where Lance heals on the following turn, allowing me to get off 2 Ice Punches with Jay for the KO. Okay, one problem down, but now the second problem, Charizard, comes out. I decide to switch into my own Charizard, who should be able to at least get off some good damage. On the switch, Lance goes for a Focus Blast, which is fine with me. Lance then goes for a Sunny Day for some reason, which lets me get off another Air Slash that does a decent amount. Lance then decides to go through a second Focus Blast. I'm really not sure why the AI did that, because surely Stab Air Slash would have done more. Strange, but I'm not complaining, as I'm able to bring Charizard into the red with my own Air Slash. Cody then unfortunately does have to take a Blaze boosted, Sun boosted Overheat, and he just can't survive the hit. Rest in peace, Cody, your sacrifice will give us the win. With Cody down, I'm able to send out Jay again and KO with another Ice Punch. Next to Lance is Tyranitar, and I'm not confident Jay can one-shot here, so I send in Mario as Lance sets up a Sandstorm. Well, that works for me, as Mario is now 3 to KO with a Meteor Mash. Fourth for Lance is the ever scary Garchomp, and I decide my best bet is probably to risk Mario going down here. So I go for an Ice Punch in the hope that maybe Mario can survive an Earthquake, and he does. My team is putting in some work here, as a 4 times effective Ice Punch then connects, KOing Garchomp. That just leaves Flygon and Dragonite. I'm worried that Flygon has had its typing changed to Bug Dragon here, like in Renegade Platinum, and that combined with a Yachi Berry will mean Jay probably won't one-shot. Because of this, I decide my highest chance of winning this fight is probably letting Mario go down here and then getting off as much damage as I can with Bell. So with a heavy heart, I salute as Mario goes down to an Outrage. Rest in peace, buddy. With Metagross down, I'm able to send in Bell, who survives an Outrage and Sandstorm Chip on 6 HP, meaning Bell's able to get off the Sleep Powder. Madness. With Flygon asleep, Bell is able to get off the strong Leaf Tornado that doesn't KO but does guarantee us the win. Bell is then KO'd by Sandstorm Chip. Rest in peace, Bell. Seems fitting you were the first Pokemon I caught in Kanto, and then you gave us our final win against Lance. I'll never underestimate Bellsprout again. With Bell down, Jay is able to come in and finish off Flygon with an Ice Punch, and then KO Lance's Dragonite in the same way. We've done it. It cost us almost our entire team, but we've defeated Kanto's Elite Thor and the champion for the second time. That just leaves one last challenge, and with most of my Pokemon dead at this point, Red is actually looking kind of scary for once. I do remember to grab one more encounter though before our final challenge, and that's inside a Cerulean cave. I find a Bronzong I name Zod. With Zod, it's time for our final battle. Time to wrap this game up and beat our final challenge, Red. Remember to leave a like to wish me luck and subscribe for more content in the future. Let's go end this. Red starts with Pikachu, and I start with the ever reliable Liam. Like every fight in this Nuzlocke, I'm able to start with an easy KO as Liam lands a single Earthquake. Second is Blastoise, who I don't really have much of the counter for. I decide my best bet is setting up Light Screen with Zod, so I switch on a weak Blizzard. A Hydro Pump from Blastoise, then it does a huge amount, more than I was expecting. Zod does survive though and gets off a Light Screen. Unfortunately, Hydro Pump did so much, even with Light Screen, Zod can't survive another hit here, so I decide with Zod's job done, it's best to let him go down. So I stay in and watch as my Bell goes down to another Hydro Pump. Rest in peace, Zod. With Zod going down a lot sooner than I thought he would, I'm now in a bit of an awkward position. I decide my best bet is probably Louis. Thanks to Light Screen, Louis is able to tank Signal Beams and Hydro Pumps long enough to bring the Blastoise into the red, and then Confusion takes him out. Got lucky there, but that's one huge threat get off the field. Third, the red is Venusaur, so I decide to stay in and let Louis go down to a Power Whip. Rest in peace. With Louis down, I'm safe to switch into Jay and KO with an Ice Beam. Then the Charizard comes out. I can one-shot the Fire Dragon with Liam, but it does mean I'm gonna have to make another sack here, and the bell chimes through Athena, so I switch into Athena on a Focus Blast and then watch as my big monkey is set on fire. Rest in peace, we'll win this one for you, Athena. With Athena down, Liam is able to come in and KO the Charizard with a Rock Slide. Fifth is Espeon, so it's a simple case of switching into Jay on a Psychic and then KOing with Crunch. That's it, one more Pokemon to go, Red Snorlax. With 3 Pokemon left, I'm pretty much in the clear here, so I decide to stay in with Jay and get off what damage I can. A Crunch does less than half, but does lower Snorlax's defense before a Body Slam connects. I'm fully expecting Jay to go down here, but somehow he survives on 5 HP. That means Jay gets to see the end of this playthrough as the second Crunch is then able to KO the Snorlax and end this run. That's it. We've finally beaten Storm Silver, and what a journey. Thank you all so much for watching. Playing through Storm Silver has been an adventure, and I hope you've all enjoyed watching it. I do appreciate all the support you guys give, it means a lot, so if you've made it this far, thank you. I'll see you guys next time.